Can I get an insurance policy on my husband and he doesn't know about it? Great question. And I'm here to answer it for you. Thank you for joining. I'm Sybil Green-Padilla. Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time and Insurance Tips. We're going to talk about that. That's a good question. And that's one popular question that we get as agents, as brokers, all of the time. Because in our world now, talking about insurance means talking about death. And lots of people have an issue, have a hard time talking about death. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to give you a short answer because I know that's why you're here. It's why you clicked on. And the answer is yes, you can, and no. So there's a twofold to this. So I'm going to talk about it. So I'm going to say, yes, you can get an insurance policy on your husband without him even knowing it, as long as you have what's called an insurable interest. Okay. Now, insurable interest is simply means that upon that person's death, which in the case we're talking about would be your husband, upon his death, if his death would cause a financial burden on you, then it's considered an insurable interest. Okay, so yes, you could get an insurance policy on him because his death means that you would not have his income, and that would be a financial burden on you because now you don't have his income to maybe pay mortgage, those things like that. Okay, so if you have an insurable interest, I'm going to say yes. Now, insurable interest could be between spouses, like what we're talking about, husband and wife. Okay. Same thing for the spouse with a man, for your wife. Okay. Upon her death, you won't have her income anymore. And a lot of men say, well, she's an at-home mom. She doesn't even work. So if she died, that wouldn't be any financial burden on me. But I beg to differ. It would be, because if she takes care of that household, if she provides care for your children while you're at work, upon her death, that means that she'll have to take up the burden for childcare. You'll also have to take on the financial cost of house cleaning, okay? And whatever other things that she did, you would have to provide that financially to have someone come in and care. You have to take the kids to the daycare, have someone come in and take care of the kids, cleaning, laundry, all of those different things that she did. Even though she didn't work, she didn't bring in income, she brought value to that house. And that would be a financial burden on you, husbands, if your wife died, even though she didn't have an income and she was a stay-at-home mom. So all of these scenarios that I'm giving you, they are insurable interests. So married couples, spouses, husbands, wives, also your children, minors under 18. These are children that are depending on you upon their death, and your children, God forbid, we hate to think about that, they can die before you. Well, if they die before you, if they die and they were sick, they had medical bills they left over, you're their sole provider. You take care of your children. They didn't have any income coming in. So when they die, that is a financial burden on you. So of course your children, they would be an insurable interest for you, as well as adult children. Adult children would be an insurable interest also, who take care of their senior parents. So you have an adult child and they're taking care of their senior parents. Upon that senior parent's death, that would be a financial burden on them because, of course, they would have to take care of the funeral costs. They would have to take care of any medical bills that are left behind, any other bills that are left behind. That would be the responsibility of that adult child. So, yes, your aging parents, your senior parents would be considered an insurable interest for you. Okay. Also, key employees. You have a business and you have an employee that you depend on quite a bit. And if that employee would die, say he's your VP or director, if that person would die, it's called a key employee insurance policy. And that's business related insurance, business insurance. If that key employee died, that means that you would have a financial distress or financial burden on you to run that company, to run that business. You could lose money because you don't have that key person. You haven't filled that position. So that can be a financial burden on you. So that would be considered insurable interest. So yes, guys, you can get an insurance policy on a person without them even knowing. So that's my yes. Now, the caveat to that, I would say no. And the reason I say that is because there has to be consent. You knew I was going there, right? It has to be consent. That means it has to be a verbal consent or it has to be a written consent through a signature on the application. Guys, I don't care how much of an insurable interest you have, if that person does not consent to that policy that you're taking out, whether you're paying or not, if they don't consent, the insurance company will decline it. Okay, now I know a lot of wives who know everything about their husbands, know their socials, know their medicines, know their doctor's name, their addresses, and all of this stuff. And they were like, why can't I get that on? Because we have to have his consent. You have the insurable interest, okay, but you don't have his consent. So the insurance company is not going to let you do it. Now, I know there are wives that actually get the mailers in the mail and they fill out the applications for their husband and they sign their name and they send them in. And guys, I would not recommend that because that's considered insurance fraud. If you're signing your husband's name, it's considered insurance fraud. And there's a monetary penalty for that and jail time. So I wouldn't recommend you do that. I know women that have done that, sent it in, and when the insurance company does call and find out that it is an insurable interest, it's their husband, it's their spouse, but he says, I didn't send that in. I didn't ask for that. I didn't tell her I wanted that. Then the insurance company has all they can do is say, I'm sorry, it's a decline. So that's why I say yes and no, because you can get an insurance policy on someone without them knowing if there's an insurable interest, but they have to consent. So if yes, part one is there and you don't have part B, which is the consent part, then you can't get a policy. And it's really a sad thing. And I have a story to tell you about this happened about maybe 5 years ago. Been in the business for a little while and had a wife call me real excited. She wanted to get insurance on her husband, which we get calls like that all the time. Wanted to get insurance on her husband. Great. So we talked about everything. And like I said, we wives, we know everything about the husband. She knew his social. She knew his health. She knew the medicines he was taking, when his next doctor appointment was, what the doctor said. She knew all of that. And she was really excited because she was like, he doesn't have anything on him. So we really need to get something on him. So we did all of that. We talked to her. I talked to her about the different types of insurance, recommended what would be probably best for them. We came up with a reasonable premium for her that she could pay because she was going to be paying it, because she said, I don't want him fussing because I'm going to be paying for it. So he doesn't have to worry about it. So I was like, great. So we came up with a great premium. She was happy about it. It was a comfortable premium for her. And then we got down to, got ready. I said, okay, now we need to get the husband on the phone because we wanted to take care of all that before he got on the phone, because she said he's not going to stay on the phone that long. So we did all of that. She called him to get on the phone so we can do the application. It would have took about maybe 10 minutes at the most. Everything else was pretty much done. And he would not get on the phone, guys. Let's take a sip to that. Oh, wow. So I could hear them in the background. She would not let me go. She would not let him out. She said, he's going to get this insurance tonight. So I could hear them in the background arguing, you're not going to leave me like this. And he was like, well, you're not going to kill me off so you can take that insurance money and live it up with another guy and blah, 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 blah. I mean, guys, they were going at it. They were going ham. And long story short, he would not come to the phone to do the application. Did she have the insurable interest? She sure did, because upon his death, she would have a financial burden because his income mainly supported that household. But did she have his consent? No, she didn't. So because she did not have the consent, we couldn't do the policy, which was a sad story. I hate I had that outcome, but that happens. So guys, I just want to let you know, husbands, if you're watching tonight, wives, if you're watching tonight, you need insurance on you, because when a loved one dies, that's a huge financial burden. Not only 10 to 15,000 for funeral costs, but what if there's medical bills that were left over? A lot of people don't just die; they are sick, and they have insurance, hospital bills that accumulate while before they die. Those bills, your spouse has to take care of that. So please don't leave them like that. I know this is hard, but don't leave them like that. They definitely need, you need to give them your consent to have that insurance policy if they want to do that, for their well-being, for their peace of mind. You want to do that for them. It is tough because fear is the main thing that keeps us from getting the insurance. Fear. A lot of times we feel like if we get insurance or we talk about insurance, that means we are creating our death to come to us sooner. That's just the old fable. That's not true. We all are going to go. So you want to be prepared. So by talking about insurance, by getting insurance, doesn't mean you're going to die any sooner. That's just an old wives' fable or whatever that's been talked about for years, and it's just something that's not even true. Fear is the false evidence appearing real. That's not even true. Also money. Money is a factor. A lot of people don't want to talk about insurance because they feel like it's going to be another bill it's going to cost them. Guys, if you can spend $30, $50 out on a dinner, on cell phone insurance, you can take $30, $50 and leave your family something. I have the plans that you can do it. Even if you have some health conditions, let's talk. Let's not bury our head in the sand like death will never occur. It will. And we don't know when our time will be. Now, if you know your death time, you need to let me know. We don't know our death date. So let's prepare. So I hope you got something out of that, guys. Let me know if you've had an instance where you had a loved one that would not sign or would not consent. What did you do? Did you get him to do it? I never did talk to her, so I don't think he ever did it. I did follow up, never got her to answer the phone. So if you had that situation and you went through that, please let me know. Share in the comments below what you did, what you would do to get that person to give their consent, okay? So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of that. Let's take a sip. And thank you for joining me on Tea Time Tuesday and Insurance Tips. I'm Sybil Green-Padilla. Good night, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.